Water History, Wednesday night, episode 191. Richard, what's going on?
I'm ready to recant, repudiate, and extend mea culpa, and mea maxima culpa on a subject matter that not too long ago we dove into, I think, with great, well, intensity and detail, but I'm going to retract what I think or what I thought at the time and what I asserted to be factual and absolutely true at the time.
Okay, this doesn't happen a ton.
And that's regarding the Charlie Kirk thing. I am now convinced that he actually wasn't shot, that he's not actually dead. This is a huge spectacle and psyop beyond belief.
Really?
Yes. So, given that you said really with that inquisitive, dubious look on your face and
Yeah,
tone, you haven't listened to
I
the
haven't. I
Delling
haven't.
Poll Damagard recent, it just dropped yesterday or the day before, focused on the fair Kirk and the overwhelming evidence, and he brought up a lot of what we brought up in our Charlie Kirk Rebel episode. But what James and Ole really persuaded me on was that the spectacle of these things and who benefits qui bonum or qui bono from these events is really more conducive to not your, in other words, it puts in it puts in excuse me, clear camps and divides so as to have the dark overlords of this world, whoever they might be. It's really a combination of people rather than just focused on Mossad or the CIA, or MI6 or
Sure.
whoever might have benefited from him being removed from the stage. There's always this deep and multifaceted revelation of the method, and it goes from the scene, the setting, the cover up, post hoc, all the things that transpired. Well, just points to that there's a lot of strange elements that just aren't reconciled. And we can almost go so far as to say, and this is what Ole harps upon in regard to these casualty events or false flags or mass shooting incidents. We should always, yes, take an examination of the scene that's drawing us to attention. For example, the shooting and the victim, and like, but look elsewhere. What is the diversionary tactic? What is going on behind the scenes that is really the cause that's being advanced? And this is a great diversion, a means by which to, as a type of illusion, draw our attention away from what's really being unfortunately achieved by the dark forces of the world.
Okay, but what's the theory? Charlie Kirk
Yes, that
is in on this, essentially. He's faking his own death. Might not be who we think he is.
yes, there might be multiple Charlies. Was he an artificial construction? He did come out of nowhere. The surrounding details of where's the autopsy, where's the ballistics report, stuff of that nature. Uh, all these things that coalesce so as to make us say it's Mossad, it's CIA, it's some other entity, Christian Schofield Bible Zionist, whatever it might be. And instead, what that somehow he's in on it. In other words, I can't confirm. I mean, it's just the oddity of the whole assassination and how this is the elements that are always apparent and clear, even with the Trump assassination attempt, the theater in Butler, shot from the roof, uh, essentially disaffected leftist weirdo isolated incel guy, correct? And is implicated as the lone shooter by the authorities that be. And then all of the independent video that is allowed to get out somewhat corroborates, but also detracts from the official story by certain degrees. Meanwhile, no one's questioning whether this guy died at all. Or some people have gone so far as to say that, well, Erica, as we have been investigating Erica Kirk, again, who is she? Her mysterious background, very much aligned with military institutions, the NSA, Department of Defense, through her family lineage. And there even appears there, I've seen some things that there appear like there's two different or three different Ericas. So even down to their names, right? Do you know what Kirk means in Scottish Gaelic? It means church. So, and then their names mean the joy of church and then the ruler of church, respectively, Charlie and I think something along those lines. But the ruler of church is Erica. So Erica Kirk are the, and
Hmm.
then you have these. How is it? What are the chances? In fact, Damagard had AI look into what were the chances that there'd be a 1998 film called Snake Eyes, which is a Masonic reference, wherein a politician named Charles Kirkland is assassinated at a public event, and one of the characters in the boxing ring is called Tyler the Executioner. He said it was 1.32 trillion to 1, the AI calculation. So there, that's why I'm recanting.
So
I don't.
what's the video we saw?
What's the video we saw? Which
Yeah,
one?
is that AI generated?
Well,
Any
no, I mean, well, is it AI? What? First of all, the whole story of how that now it comes out that this Mikey McCoy, who was very close to Charlie, who was filming the thing, had initially said and claimed that there was Charlie's blood all over him. His father reiterated and asserted and corroborated that. And then it turns out the guy had no blood on him. At the actual shooting, you see McCoy just simply turn and walk away as if nothing happened. I mean, this all seems like a grand staged event beyond the post-mortem, if you want to accept that he died, the post-mortem of the State Farm political rally, the weird interactions between Erica Kirk and Trump, and her terrible C-list acting. It just
But couldn't all that still be real even if he is actually dead? Like, What's the part? Erica Kirk can still be in on the husband's death, right? And
right.
we talked about all of that. So how does that? I guess I'm just having a hard time. I haven't listened to the episode. I'm just
Yes, and I wish I could definitively tell you it's all this confluence of circumstances that leads you to believe that this might have been that Charlie might have been in on it, or that he was aware of what was going to go on and he was forced into this. Um, I mean, then there's the weird episodes wherein he's talking on his podcast months ago with Erica online in the TPUSA podcast or Charlie Kirk show, and they're talking about the dates of their marriage and she can't remember them, or the dates of their children's births. She can't remember them. What woman doesn't remember the birthdays of their children or their anniversary?
yeah,
That's very strange, peculiar to the nth degree.
huh? Okay. Well, I got a
Well,
podcast.
let's watch the episode and tell me what you think. I mean, James and Ole do such a good job breaking it all apart that you feel almost stupid for having believed the
Official.
non-official, the unofficial
Yeah,
narrative.
right. That's the crazy part.
Yes, right.
That
And
it's a
that's
psyop within the psyop.
correct. They're multifaceted, and this is part of the revelation of the method. Correct. We're and they're stepping up their game. We want to do the Freemasonic, Talmudic, Baha'i, all religions are the same globalist agenda that seems to be the preferred worldview and belief system of really people who are quite deranged, and the powers that be. So the point of with the Kirk assassination is the revelation of the method is so multifaceted and layered that it still um, suffices or satisfies their desire to reveal things and be open before real dramatically evil occurrences proceed. And they're apparently the people of the occult are very concerned with karma. And so as long as they reveal to the eaters or those who are considered lowly, the rest of us, even goyim dalits or what have you want to call us um, in those traditions, then it's permissible for them to
Mm,
proceed.
yeah.
Yeah, they revel in the trickster nature of it, the grander the lie, the grander the falsehood, the more the deception, the
More
greater
entertaining.
the pleasure or satisfaction.
I got listeners.
I'd be interested to hear, and maybe we could take a segment of next week's episode or the next episode and hear your reactions from that.
Yeah,
But we have other fish to fry today.
we sure do. Want to talk about what you sent?
Sure, that's that's our Chris Jackson creepy evil eye going on and being shown at the Vatican. Okay, so let me set the background for this. It seems as though there is a rather awake professor in Italy. He goes by the name of Professor Mendela, and I forget his first and middle name if it's revealed later. But this professor wrote a rather long but important essay called The Crime of the State. And this, being that this is an anarcho-capitalist podcast, and it applies in quite stark manners to what we do here on a regular basis, and pulls in much of the current crisis within the Catholic Church or themes within it, elements within it. It was none other than Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano, excommunicated by the conciliar and synodal church, and Jorge Bergoglio, who headed it for a period of years, 13 years. Well, I won't say glommed on because that has a negative connotation, but Monsignor, I'm sorry, Archbishop Vigano was invited to be present at a conference about the essay, in which I guess it would be considered a kind of symposium or forum. And then he went so far as to write a an a present or to transcribe a presentation he gave at um, at the conference or for the conference in Florence for this symposium on the crime of the state by Professor Mendela, and he entitles it "The Revelation of the Method," which is fantastic. So it combines a lot of what we were speaking of in the introduction to the show with constant themes of anti-etatism or anti-statism and anarchism, along with how those elements of anarchism are very much in keeping with a social order that is was prescribed, but more so favored in the pre-conciliar, pre-Vatican II church, to be sure, and has been really, to the surprise of I think no one who's been paying attention of the history of the past century, that everybody's looking for a general and shared characteristic of the Paridi, the advisors, i.e., the advisors, the cardinals and archbishops, and especially those who are outside of the faith, whether they be rabbis or ministers or even communist sympathizing Eastern Orthodox Russian prelates at Vatican II, that there is this considerable deference to the state as an institution in Vatican documents. Whereas the initial program, let's call it, the original program of Vatican II was to finish Vatican I, which had never closed from 1871 because of the Franco-Prussian War, to proclaim Mary as co-mediatrix of graces, as the Theotokos and Mother of God, and to the hope of the conservative cardinals in attendance was that there'd be a vociferous, passionate, and detailed condemnation of Marxism and totalitarian communism as it had come to exist and was operative in the Eastern Bloc and Soviet Union and other places like Cuba as well. And what it turned out to be was the exact opposite. Talk about a trick of the hand, right?
Yeah,
By the Masonic powers that be at the council and had already infiltrated the church. You want to dive right into it? This is what Vigano had to say.
sure. Evil must hide in the light of day, since the rules of the universe dictate that those who are deceived consent to their deception.
Very good.
Dear friends, I am pleased to speak at this event organized by Professor Umberto Mendola on the occasion of the presentation of his essay, Crime of the State, for which I wrote the preface. This book will leave a complete and authoritative written testimony execrating the nauseating complicity of all those figures still in power who have shown themselves willing to prostitute themselves to a subversive and tyrannical regime. I hope that the courage and professional competence of Professor Mendola will inspire others, each in their own field of social and professional commitment, to raise their voices to denounce one of the most horrific crimes against humanity. Not wanting to repeat what I have already written in the preface, allow me to integrate into these words and into Professor Mendola's essay an element which I believe can give meaning to what we have seen in recent years.
So this is very much a supplemental to Professor Umberto Mendola's essay, Crime of the State.
We all understand the pandemic was the beginning of an unconventional war waged by the globalist elite against humanity and against God. Satan's hatred of man is motivated by the fact that he is created in the image and likeness of God, and that only man, and not the angels, has been granted the unheard of privilege of divine redemption, which restores through the passion, death, and resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ the disorder caused by the original sin committed by our first parents, Adam and Eve. Satan cannot bear that we humans have the opportunity to become children of God and to participate in the eternal bliss that the ancient serpent irretrievably lost. Unable to prevent redemption, Satan tries to reduce its fruits by dragging as many souls as possible to hell. For this reason, everything Satan offers us is intrinsically and necessarily intended to kill us in soul and body, in order to tear souls away from God through deception and lies. And by money, which is called not by chance the devil's dunghill, money is dunghill when it becomes the measure of all human actions, or the means to corrupt men and make them their slaves. The action of the globalist elite shows the mark of the beast precisely by considering as a commodity as something marketable, not only material goods, but also immaterial goods, which in a traditional and Catholic society were animated by charity toward one's neighbor. I'm thinking, for example, of the education of children or the care of the elderly and the sick, possible within the traditional family.
What an insightful point there about how fiat currency and central banking monetization of debt and financialization has caused an enormous disruption into the traditional operations of both the church and its charitable arms, but the family in its proper orientation, its proper operation.
The business of babysitting for children in nursing homes for the elderly is the result of a social engineering action that extends to many other aspects of our daily lives, including the so-called welcome of irregular migrants planned to Islamize Europe and create instability and civil unrest.
And what forces are causing that migration and Islamization, but Zionist and totalitarian Talmudic influences.
The pandemic coup was able to find such execution and collaboration precisely because it favored the economic approach. Rivers of money were used to domesticate politicians, magistrates, journalists, doctors, entrepreneurs, actors, singers, athletes, and not surprisingly, the Vatican. Bergoglio, the Italian Episcopal Conference, the bishops, all ready to sell themselves and side with the elite, with so-called science, with so-called experts. Professor Mendola is quite right. It was a state crime, perpetrated simultaneously and in a coordinated manner in all Western nations. The first stage of a war that already has new fronts ready, such as that of famine caused by the systematic destruction of small farms in the name of the climate emergency, by the centralization of food production in the hands of multinationals, and by the consequent exponential increase in food prices, a reality that is accompanied by the imposition of digital identity and electronic money to force us to consume only what the elite has decided to produce and sell to us.
Mm.
While we are well aware of the crime that has been perpetrated against humanity and the theological reasons for this aversion to man as God's creature, we nevertheless miss the reason why too often, especially during the pandemic, we have received contradictory information from the very people who should have hidden it. Think of the quote, safe and effective serum defined by Bergoglio as an quote, an act of love to save us together, for which, however, the state granted criminal protection to vaccinating doctors,
And the manufacturers, the pharmaceutical manufacturers thereof.
or the need to reduce the CO2 footprint supported by billionaires, traveling by private jet or highly polluting yacht. If they are criminals, and we know they are, why do they tell us what they intend to do at the risk of us organizing to prevent them?
Mm. Revelation of the method.
Why do they show us the contradictions in their story as if they wanted to give us a way to denounce them? The answer I would like to share with you comes from two seemingly unrelated sources. Aleister Crowley, a Luciferian esotericist who died in 1947, and Michael A. Hoffman II, a historian and expert of secret cults and psychological manipulation who is still alive. Crowley, who was introduced to the British circle that included George Orwell and Aldous Huxley, writes, evil must hide in the sunlight, since the rules of the universe dictate that those who are deceived consent to their deception. Since Crowley is a committed Satanist, we are not surprised by his confession, in which Satan's true fraud is unmasked. To obtain our adherence to evil not by deception and without our knowledge, but by getting us to accept the lie, which he defines evil as good, and the fiction by which he presents good as evil. Satan essentially wants our humiliation. I will give you all this if, falling at my feet, you will worship me. Matthew 4:9.
More familiar with that
Yeah,
tract?
yep. And our ratification that if we perform this act, it is because we agree to believe him, the liar, rather than the true God. This is what Satan wants, dear friends, to make us take the place of God, aware of the madness of the, I don't know what that symbol is,
Right. And I could check on the French here. Let's see. I have the French. Maybe it's better translated. It looks like that's from the Greek.
of our sense,
Um,
and afterwards is of our senseless gesture of defiance.
okay. How does that paragraph start?
Why do they show us the contradictions in their story as if they wanted to give us a way to denounce them?
Okay. Let's see. Nope. Uh, we are made to take the place of God, conscious of the foolishness of it, again, it's in Greek here, or whatever that is, of our insensible gesture of defiance.
Yeah, so
Okay. So, yeah, unfortunately, that doesn't
it's in
not
Greek.
translate. It's in Greek. So it's all Greek to us. All right. Go
On
ahead.
on the other hand, Hoffman approaches the same theme from a different angle, identifying a hidden elite that uses social engineering techniques to control the masses. It is not just about conquering economic or political power, but about waging psychological warfare, an occult psychodrama
Yeah.
that transforms reality into a magical and alchemical ritual. The media
Yes.
firms historical events, and he gets into details such as the JFK assassination, 9/11, or the Epstein scandal, are tools to alchemize the collective mind, rendering it passive and incapable of reacting.
Yeah.
And
Isn't that true? Are we not desensitized by both the number and magnitude of these gripping stories that desensitize us to the truth and reality? And in point of fact, what are we fed time and time again? This is one of the most insidious, I would offer this one of the most insidious things or aspects of modern media. And that is, well, if you don't know about all of the different, well, and this applies to the woke, i.e., unawake, the simps, and those who are willing to take the establishment's narrative at face value. and those who are or would be self-described as not falling for it, the illumined, if you will, the enlightened. So what it allows for us to do because of the complexity and the frequency of all of these major events is that there's no time to, in fact, if you were to go on any type of medium, social media, even have conversations in polite society and didn't know about these events, you'd be considered a dullard, or your lack of concern would be seen as
Concerning.
entirely indifferent. And yes, you'd be kind of a maniacal addict to indifference. And no one wants to be that. So we're all engulfed and flooded by these things, so much so that the voice of God is muted or is so overwhelmed our reception of his voice that by all these different influences that we become deaf to it. So
Let's
I'm just
see.
saying
I
he's
no,
that's what he means by the alchemize, uh, provide an overwhelming deception and believe instead of it being an individual critical thinker ascribed to the collective mind, as he says, rendering it passive and incapable of reacting.
the elite no longer hides everything, but deliberately reveals parts of its method, the manipulation strategies, as an act of humiliation and supremacy. Studies in social psychology confirm that this cruel game of subjugation and domination of the victims serves to provoke this cognitive dissonance, which inevitably leads to demoralization in the awareness of being powerless, to implicit consent, a passive consent, as if to say, I will show you what I do and you do nothing. Therefore, you consent.
Mm-hmm.
And to the acceptance of despotic power, the evil mocks the masses,
The elite. I have elites here. The elite mocks the masses.
what did I say?
You said the evil.
Oh, sorry. The elite mocks the masses, reinforcing its psychological control over them. Hoffman writes, the alchemical principle of the revelation of the method has as its main component a clown-like mocking of the victims as a display of macabre power and arrogance. When performed in a veiled manner, accompanied by certain occult signs and symbolic words, and when it elicits no significant response of opposition or resistance from the targets, it is one of the most effective techniques of psychological warfare and mental violence.
Wow, isn't that true that we're, in a way, the public nature, the ubiquitous nature of these overwhelmingly just inundated events with the occult signs, symbolic words, uh, scenes that are in the shape of menorah, and Charlie's at a certain position in this menorah-like setting, or uh, and the Masonic symbols that are part of the film that Snake Eyes film from 1998. I mean, and then its resonance and connection with actual events that unfold. It's just it makes you clear, it makes it clear. I wouldn't say victims. They don't want you to be victims because victims builds up a negative karma for the occult or those participating in it, the evil, but rather that you're as viewers. It's wild. It's kind of the prescription for the mass, but just a dark. This is the dark spectacle rather than the illuminative spectacle that is the, for example, Tridentine Mass, right? Because of your passivity and your presence and your adherence to and constant desire to view these images, film footage, and the like, you become, well, those who have acquiesced to what's going to proceed from it. Is that, am I being too esoteric when I'm describing these things, or should I provide greater instances or examples? If I'm being unclear, then just alert me to that, and I'll try to provide more concrete allusions.
What is I haven't read it yet. What is this? Tachyprina? Tachyprina?
Like the Tachyprina and watchful waiting. Why don't you look that up? Because I have no idea. I thought that was a mistranslation. Let me see what it says in the French too. Again, the French was the original language that this was written in, Takeprina or Takeprina. What can you tell me what that paragraph that is in? Takeprina. How does that start?
What you saw never happened, like
Oh,
the
I see it. I see it here.
pain
That which you
reliever.
have seen has never arrived, right? It is the sentence before in the quotes. That which you have not seen, or
Yeah.
that which you have seen has never arrived.
What you saw never happened.
What you saw never happened. Okay, a different translation. This is a protocol. Uh, uh,
It's a painkiller
ah, yeah, a painkiller and wait vigilant. Is that what how it's translated?
and watchful waiting.
Watchful waiting, wait attentively. Yes.
Watchful waiting protocol that the Minister of Health.
Roberto Speranza, member of the Fabian Society,
Okay,
had
let's
tied.
just yeah, let me just read this whole paragraph because
Okay, go ahead.
it makes a lot more sense now.
Otherwise, it's just very disconnected. So go ahead.
When we saw the dances of doctors and nurses in hospital wards, and at the same time the television news broadcast their bulletins of quote COVID deaths in intensive care units with the mystifications that we know well, we were confronted with two opposing realities. This cognitive dissonance served precisely to see who would highlight the contradictions and who, on the contrary, would adapt by pretending that they were not there in a gaslighting operation. What you saw never happened, like the tachyprina and watchful waiting protocol that the Minister of Health, Roberto Speranza, a member of the Fabian Society, denied ever having imposed. It was a mass test to put to the test the devotion to the health religion yesterday, to the green climate religion today. Every accepted absurdity has weakened people's ability to trust their own observations and rational judgment, leading them to a form of apathy in the face of each new provocation.
Provocation.
Provocation. The message becomes, quote, we can show you the contradiction between our words and our deeds, and you will do nothing. You will accept both the lie and the evidence of it.
Yes, and think about how straightforward, clear, always instructive, always educational, always patient our Lord's instructions are, right? Love is patient, love is kind from from John, the Epistle of John, but also and Paul. But we have to right this real question of I I get the sense that what Archbishop Vigano is at is that whereas our Lord wants everything to be known to us as he is the way, the truth, and the life. So he conveys the truth in loving kindness and salvific effect to us. He makes it clear, and it's through deep integrity that what Satan does with both the good of creation and wants our perception of natural and divine law to be so disintegrated, so disintegralized, if you will, to the point where we're questioning as the now synodal and post-conciliar church and its head, Cardinal Prevost, the pretender claimant to be the Bishop of Rome. Yes, I'm already declaring him to be an anti-pope. That you get down to not just cultural relativism and moral relativism, but religious indifferentism, as we saw within these recent events at the Vatican, where they're celebrating the 60th anniversary of a document from the council that has been an utter disaster. And by faithful and truth, people concerned and scholars concerned with the truth, just 10 years earlier had been just declared an utter failure. Well, now what the failure is being represented as this celebratory or something to celebrate as a success about, yeah, this move toward religious indifferentism that leads us to conception that religious expression is all of it is of equal merit and value, and beyond that, varieties of belief are of all equal in value. As Leo Prevost has said, he's going to be the agent and one who continues the heresies, the stark heresies of Bergoglio before him, who was his buddy and pal. So there we are.
This is a form of ritual humiliation that works
Mm.
not through secrecy, but through brazen exposure, especially when obedience to the authority that issues criminal orders, hence the state crime, is offered as a sacrifice of one's own rationality, as an immolation of the will.
Okay, all he's saying there in very, very beautiful diction and word choice is simply look, the state is the preferred instrument of those who want to replace God and natural and divine law as an authority and supplant it with the state's arbitrary, often illogical statutes and its conditions for it's always sincere but destructive requirements of obeisance to it, and with that an immolation of the will. A translation of immolation of the will, or another way to express that, would be uh, moral abuse, or just handing over to the state. Why am I forgetting that phrase that's famous within anarchism and libertarian circles? Moral. I'm losing out on it. That you just simply defer to the state, moral deference to the state, right?
Yeah.
And with that, people don't act as charitable individuals vis-a-vis others with whom they should be in relation with in the Ordo Caritatis, but also their neighbors and people throughout the world. We're left to You're left to shrug your shoulders and say, well, shouldn't the state take care of that? It's an inordinate deference to the power of the state that the people who are a part of the state certainly crave and desire and enjoy, but does nothing. I mean, ask the people of Appalachia after the storms how considerate and charitable the state is. Instead, rather than FEMA rebuilding their homes, the Amish are down there doing it, right? The Amish would be nodding their heads if they had the internet and could look at this. So go ahead.
I forgot where it was.
You were at
So,
hence the state crime.
hence, the state crime is offered as a sacrifice of one's own rationality, as an immolation of the will. And this, dear friends, constitutes the subversion of the concepts of authority and obedience, both in the civil and religious spheres, because the enemy is always the same and acts on two fronts to better strike us.
Yeah, and this is great because it reminds us of the Augustinian, a la St. Augustine, instruction about what constitutes a true civil authority. A righteous civil authority has the proper consent of the governed, yes, but it also acts not in contradiction, but rather support of divine and natural law. Insofar as a law that's created by civil authorities is unjust, it is not to be obeyed or followed in any way, shape, or form.
Satan's masterstroke is this: to obtain from us an irrational assent to the evidence of his frauds, which we recognize as such, but nevertheless accept as true, in a senseless act of suicidal pride.
Correct. It is what it is, after all, Charlie, right?
Oh, that's a great saying for that.
Hmm.
Last paragraph. What the serpent asks for is an act of faith, indeed, of superstition, of apostasy. A credo quia absurdum, in
A
which
belief
the
in the absurd.
isn't that I believe because it's absurd? Or
Yes, I believe as it is absurd, right?
yeah. In which the obviousness of the lie makes the abdication of reason and common sense more meritorious, so to speak. This is
Yes.
why the collaborationists of the psychopandemic farce have unleashed so ferociously against the refractory.
Okay, that is such a huge that's such a beautiful paragraph. Talk about something that attains to the truth. It's a true expression of the truth. I believe in that which is absurd, right?
Yep.
A status in which the obviousness of the lie makes the abdication of reason and common sense more meritorious, so to speak. This is why the collaborationists of the psychopandemic farce have unleashed so ferociously against the refractory. Yeah, because they're proud of the revelation of the method. They're proud of the theatrics behind it. They're proud of the diversionary tactics and the effects. that they're supposed to have on us. So anyone who dares not to want to view it or buy into it or be sucked into the evil narrative, and those who might, as a result, even rebel against it, maybe just because they have a rebellious individualistic agency streak, or that worse of all, they've been informed to and have attuned their ear to the good shepherd rather than the wolves in the field. They are, by the established powers that be, the most meritorious, therefore, from the powers be perspective of severe punishment, ostracization, you name it.
What is Kyubi?
That's what I couldn't. That's the word that came up, and I was like, Kyobi doesn't make any sense there. I don't know why Google translated it as such. Let me look at what the French says if it says something different, and then it goes what the servant. Okay. So yes, that's more Greek there. So it says, how does one face this revolution? Intrinsically satanic because it is seen to subvert the. Again, it's Greek. So let me try to look up the Greek there. Uh, it's searching. Oh, subvert the cosmos. So that's the Greek word for cosmos. So kind of the way in which the Greeks referred to cosmos or the ordering principle like logos um in Greco-Roman and classical literature. So this is from the Wikipedia entry, so take it with a grain of salt. The Greek word cosmos, it appears in fact from this as well as from the extant fragments of the first book of Phileas. I believe that's a Pythagorean work. It's a general account and origin of the arrangement of the universe. That's what it refers to. It is, according to Pythagorean theory, the essence and source of all things.
Got it.
Okay. Think of the, so let's put the cosmic order of the divine, kind of like divine law. Yes.
Sure.
And to establish the, what is that? The, in more Greek there. Let me look that up. Why did he put Greek in there? Let's see. It means, oh, I can't, no, they don't even have a translation for that.
Let me just read it.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
How can we respond to the reversal of true and false, good and evil? How can we confront this revolution, which is inherently satanic because it aims to subvert the divine QB, it kind of is divine, right, and establish the infernal QB of the synagogue of Satan? By
Mhm.
recognizing Satan's fraud, by denouncing it, by making people understand the theological coherence and the social danger of the criminal plan of those Hoffman calls the cryptocrats, the occult leaders.
Mhm.
Remember, the truth will set you free.
Yep. What are your takes on that, Charlie?
That was it, it's unbelievable. It belongs in the next book.
I think so too. I think so too. Yes. I loved how both Vigano and then I would presume without reading Professor Mendele's long essay, identify the instrumentality of the state in perpetuating these grand lies and how utterly destructive they are and how they again divide and conquer our attention.
It reminds me of the conclusion of A Twisted History of the United States, but if you just continued it, if you had 3 more years of foresight,
Right.
right?
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's well stated. Do you have to plug your laptop in?
Yeah, I was gonna do that.
Well, go ahead. We'll have a Delling poll moment and you can go ahead and do that.
Yeah, I just don't want anything to get messed up on this.
Yeah,
And
go for it.
so I have it plugged into my PC,
Yeah.
but the PC charger, it's nothing like the block charger, like these.
Oh, right.
So I gotta do that. I like we called it Delling pull moment.
Yes. Never edits this stuff out.
I
I'm going to
know.
leave it in just an ode to James.
So hopefully this stabilizes more because I was getting kind of nervous towards the end there. It was
Mm.
keeps going down.
I saw as you were sharing your screen, the
Yeah, I'm
battery.
gonna keep my eye on it because I don't know what happens to the Zoom if it dies on it. I don't know if the recording saves. So,
Is there a barber strike on the south side of Chicago I'm unaware of?
dude,
Somebody needs a haircut.
I when I because I haven't showered since I got back. When I
Oh.
don't shower when I get back, it looks bad. But it actually looks pretty good if after I shower. Like I'm growing it out.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
I'm keeping the beard shorter. I gotta get trimmed.
I speak from a pure status of jealousy. So
Yeah, I was gonna say you're putting the barbers on out of business.
they're all in Skid Row.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was beautiful though to get back to that.
Mm,
It's so frustrating that more people, especially within the church, can't just call it out as plainly as that.
right.
That we're at war. This is a spiritual war going on right now.
Right. Yes, as
That
Paul says, it's not against material forces that we fight, but principalities and demons. So you have to be aware of the real metaphysical enemies who God calls us to face, of course, armed, as St. Paul says in Ephesians, with the armor of light, with the grace of the sacraments, with proper doctrine, and not just blind obedience to it, but a real integration of God's law into our hearts.
yeah.
And if we're lacking that, we become very vulnerable to the psyops, to the diversions, to the methods of the revelation of the method. Let's never succumb to that. That's I hope and pray. But and we have to pray for others. We have to really pray for others. Yes, for the people that are perpetuating that evil, that they convert and have a Bella Dodd slash uh, Bartolo Longo type of conversion from Satanism and the occult to the one true holy Catholic and Apostolic faith. But even just to the vulnerable, I worry about my kids' generation. Will they be able to take that on and not be seduced by it all? I wonder. I think on a hopeful side, to be the optimist, a sort of white pill here. I hear a lot from kids and peers of my children's general age. They have a lot of healthy skepticism about went on with COVID. They totally don't believe in climate change. They laugh at adults who bring it up with a passion. They're targets of scorn and ridicule, which I just love. So maybe the dark forces have overplayed their hand here with the young.
I
I
think
hope
so.
that
I agree.
yeah, I hope that's the case.
Do you want to talk about a town that we do need to pray for
Well,
big time for
for sure.
that conversion?
Right, right. That they be released from the graphs of Baphomet and the sort of demons. Definitely. Let's do it.
Here it is, the people segment.
Meanwhile in Oak Park.
We should go to your gay suburb now.
Meanwhile in Oak Park, brought to you by Trinitine Brewing. We've got another opinion piece, but first,
Oh boy.
are you familiar with the recapture? A tax
I
levy recapture?
Is that when they produce refunds and they have to take the refunds back? I don't, what is
D
that?
D200 board considers $2.1 million tax levy recapture.
Hmm.
OPRF had boasted about taking a lower levy in recent years.
Oh, okay.
Recapturing $2.1 million in taxes in 2025 to 2027 was the main cog of a tax levy scenario the OPRF District 200 Board of Education considered at its October 23rd meeting. The scenario, which would maintain a fund balance at 33% of district operating expenditures over the next 4 years, is one of four the board considered last week It will approve a 2025 tentative tax levy at a special board meeting November 6th, with a truth in taxation public hearing on the proposed levy December 4th. Final adoption of the levy would be made that evening. In May 2022, a new section of the state property tax code gave school districts authority to approve a tax levy that is less than the maximum allowable by law and create the possibility of recapturing the difference on a future
Oh,
levy within 3 years.
oh, okay. So and it's a kind of a set aside, and then they're able to recapture it or get it back after the 3 years term is expired. Oh, sneaky.
The scenario, termed Scenario 4, was presented by
Ooh,
District Finance Director Brian Imhoff and Tony Arbogast, Assistant Superintendent for Business Services. Scenario
an assistant superintendent for business services. I wonder where all the tax dollars are going.
Scenario 4 would recapture the $2.1 million in three equal installments of $700,000 from 2025 to 27 tax levy years. It assumes the recapture is taken regardless of the percentage increase in the consumer price index for urban customers, which would result in a levy increase of 3.8% in 2025 and an estimated increase of 2.8% in 2026 and 2027.
Well, that doesn't sound like it's regardless of CPI. It's taking CPI into effect.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So
In
they're going to
recent,
tax you more because of inflation.
right.
Yes.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
In recent years, OPRF officials had used its decisions to not tax to the maximum level as a talking point, reflecting what they considered to be a respectful treatment of taxpayers.
Oh, now that's run out. We're going to totally shit on you now.
The reason our district did not levy higher in those previous years was the fund balance was above the target range, above 50%, the high range of where we want it to be, Imhoff said Monday. Even as recently as June, we were running around 75%. Imhoff said that while a district can always choose to levy less taxes, before the 2022 property tax code change, quote, there was no way to recapture tax money from a lesser levy year. This scenario captures those dollars.
This is wild. This is akin to, and pardon the, tell me if this analogy works or it's limping and crippled or what to whatever degree you see fit. But it's as though you paid for, let's say, some service at like an Airbnb, and it was on discount for the season that you went to Key Largo or something like that. You go to Key Largo, and then a year later, the the guy who owns the Airbnb goes, well, back there's this clause in the contract way down here in the fine print that says it was discounted now, but because of, well, inflation, and I had the right to recapture the difference between what I ought to have charged, or I had the power to charge you, and what I actually charged you. Right?
Yeah, that's
It's insane. That's insane. What other entity would have the audacity and temerity to even approach that type of is that does that even fall within contractual agreements? Okay, well, I could charge you in perpetuity in the future for a service already rendered or lack of service rendered.
the key number in scenario 4 is 33%, which isn't a magic number per se, Imhoff said, but an ideal place for the fund balance to rest just in case Cook County delays property tax payouts in 2026.
Ay, ay, ay.
Quote, when we look at our spending trajectory, it takes us about 4 months to spend 33% of our budget for the year, Imhoff said. As long as the county doesn't delay taxes beyond October, that will cover us. The other three scenarios presented Thursday included Scenario 1, which presents a levy that increases the CPI factor by 2.9% in 2025 and 2% in future years with no recapture. Scenario 2, which would recapture the 2.1 million by imposing a maximum levy of increase of 5% in 2025, followed by a 2.6% increase in 26 and 2% in 2027. Scenario 3, which would recapture the 2.1 million with a 3.5% tax levy increase for the next 3 years, unless that 2.1 million amount has been exhausted earlier.
They all want to do every element, every scenario has the recapture in it of the 2.1 million,
Board member
right?
Graham, right. Board member Graham Brisbane asked Arbogast Thursday, what the fundamental differences between scenarios 3 and 4 are. To me, scenario 4 smooths in the recapture on a dollar basis and not a percentage basis. Arbogast said, one, it doesn't put up that risk of a high CPI forcing us to not go to a recapture. Board member Kathleen Odell
Me.
said
He says to me,
Board member Kathleen Odell said the recapture opportunity in scenario 4 serves an important purpose. Quote, if there are material changes, if the situation today is unexpectedly and unavoidably different from the way we thought it might be when the previous decision was made, that's kind of exactly the reason for the recapture opportunity, she said.
so basically they have total arbitrary power to just get as many tax dollars as they possibly can, and also claim that they were being responsible and respectful to the taxpayer in previous years.
She said the district's special education costs have gone up, quote, really even more than what we're talking about recapturing on an annual basis.
Oh, well,
And the other thing is the unpredictability with the county, meaning we want to aim for that higher 33% level. But she agreed with other board members that, quote, we have to be judicious with that recapture opportunity.
yeah, they'll be real judicious about it.
Board member Fred Arkin wondered aloud what would happen if the state property tax code hadn't changed in 2022.
Hmm.
Quote, what would the actions we'd be taking as a board if we couldn't go back and recapture? And I don't think we've dug deep enough into maybe some of our expense reductions, he said.
Whoa, whoa. Sit down, Fred. You're about to be stoned.
No, he's a bit of a troublemaker on the board.
Okay.
During COVID, but he's always wondering out loud.
It never do.
He's
Yeah.
always wondering. I wonder what's going to happen to those kids when we shut down the sports season.
Well, what is that? He's basically the Tucker Carlson.
He's a little Tuckery.
Tucker. Well, I don't understand.
That doesn't make sense to me.
That doesn't make sense to me. I don't get it.
What would I said that I think it's something we told our taxpayers we're not going to tax this amount, and then all of a sudden, oops, oops,
That's it.
something changes. Now we're going to go back and tax you again.
That's it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's the best way to distill it there, Fred. Good job.
It just doesn't sit well with me, and I understand it may be a necessity.
Oh, he had to
It's
add that
not.
qualifier.
See,
He had
it's
that
not.
qualifier.
Would scenario 4's tax recapture approach been necessary if District 200's currently in progress building project 2 had gone to a referendum in 2023 instead of the issuance of debt certificates?
Oh,
Quote, it depends on the amount of the referendum, Imhoff said. At the time we were looking at project 2 financing, there were multiple scenarios, and one of them was, do we go to referendum for the full project? Do we go to referendum and only ask for 50% and fund the rest through fund balance or debt certificates? He said that if the district had gone to referendum and asked for the full amount in excess of 40 million, quote, then our fund balance would still be above the target rate. But then why are you going to referendum for the full amount when you have a 75% to 80% fund balance? Okay.
that's as clear as mud. Who wrote that one?
Greg Voss.
Greg Voss with three G's. Ugh. Why do you have three G's if you're named Greg?
Keep marching. Keep
That's
marching.
douchey excessiveness.
This
Okay.
is,
Oh,
this
this is
is,
a short,
this is,
short,
this
quick
is
one,
super
huh?
short. Super short letter to the editor.
By
But
Joel
I
Scheer.
don't know if you caught any of I should have pulled some of this up. I got to send you some pictures. But there was a TikTok live of the No Kings rally in Oak Park.
Park. Okay.
It kind of felt like you were there. I'll send you pictures after this.
I felt like I was there.
I should have included this from the TikTok live. So somebody went live on TikTok from the rally,
Uh-huh.
and they were right in the middle of it, and you saw
Wow.
everything.
Wow.
I went to the first and second No Kings rallies in Oak Park. Folks loved the Raging Grannies chorus, using humor and wit to point out the horrors of our national leaders and their actions. The latest rally looked as if it had more than 2,000 participants. For those who ask, quote, what good will it do? I believe the following. We rally because it is our constitutional right. When we march, we feel part of a movement rather than isolated. Nonviolent opposition works. We show how to do it peacefully while telling the world that what we believe is morally right. A few examples of mass protest bringing about change in leadership occurred in Bangladesh, Nepal, and Sri Lanka.
Yeah, and in all three of those cases, it was violent.
Most
Okay.
importantly, we need to be patient. Protests build over time. They will not move the course of our country overnight. If we continue to take to the streets, change will come.
Written by a third grader. That's it?
That's it.
What did the I don't get.
Wait, there wasn't even. I should actually pull this up. This is actually shorter.
Oh, there's a shorter one than that. Insipid 3-paragraph
I don't know. Do these
inanity?
people not just can't they just make X accounts and
Yeah, right.
just get on Twitter? The old bird. Ready to rally. Cecilia Kroll. I grew up in Oak Park and worked at the Oak Park post office for many years. I have since moved. I miss it. It will always be home. When is the next protest rally and where? I
Written
think they
by
might have meant to not send that to the editor. I think they might have just wanted to email asking,
Yes,
and it got published into the.
yes, that's it. And it was a slow week. So it says Cecilia Kroll, aged
I think she meant
490.
she meant. Oh, this is ask us anything is about the election, but I think she just meant to have like a chat box.
Yes, yeah, yeah. She confused submission to
And
the
she
editor
ended up
with
getting on the
with a
doorstep
chat.
to everybody in Oak Park.
She thought she was conversing with Grok,
Yeah,
right? Hey, Grok.
I miss it.
I miss it. I mean, what? It's so totally disoriented and just totally unrelated things. I miss the post office. I used to work there. Hey, when's the next Joe
It will
King's
always be
rally?
home.
It's like reading a Faulkner novel. That
That's it.
was it.
Meanwhile in Oak Park.
What would have happened if I'd gone for it and just said, no, I'm gay? So people say,
Still insane, Oak Park. Yay. Yeah, yeah, that's it. That's our Oak Park.
good episode though, good material.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, anything else?
Keep
that we
praying.
should know? Yeah, pray fast. Give alms.
Yeah,
Yeah, be sanctified. Be sanctified.
this is a road game. So
Yeah, this is a road game, but the territory is missionary territory, and God has sent us here to make it his home. That's why, yeah, when Delingpole says, "Well, of course, this is a hell. This, the dark overlords of this world are in control," I reject that. I don't.
me
No,
too.
God doesn't allow that. He doesn't allow that. They might seem to be in control for a while, but their delusion is their own as well, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. We'll see everybody next time.
Yep.
Peace, Charlie. God bless you.
See ya.